customer value. And I think this is where we've really seen a lot of sustainable success, particularly with the sales team. And so what really this slide's showing you is that we've changed the way we put together our customer sales plans. And you'll see here how it starts is with the changed conversation, right? So the sales plan starts with the changed conversation, the value we're creating today and the value we're creating in the future. And this is the document we take in front of them with all of our conversations with them to say, hey, this is what you told us we could go do to create value, additional value for your organization, and this is what we're doing about it. And so this is what keeps the conversation alive. And this is what also gets the involvement of all of our different functional areas in Owens Corning into the customer sales plans. So Bob mentioned the software a little bit earlier, but as we work on these value creation opportunities, and as R&D and other folks are involved in those things, their work is automatically populating the customer sales plan. So we're able to keep up with the progress we're making against the value creation opportunities for each and every customer. So a lot of these value creation opportunities go across multiple customers, right? So we're able to keep up real time with what our progress is on those different value creation initiatives. This also works fantastically, just as a communication tool externally and internally, right? So I'll continue to hit on, what's made us successful with this is the change management, not just internally or externally, but both internally and externally. So to have this as our customer plans, as we're talking to our customer service folks, as we're talking to our logistics folks or R&D folks, is just as important as having it in front of us when we're talking to the customer, as far as what are the things we're collaborating on together to grow our business. So again, I'm kind of the example guy. Karen, you asked a really great question earlier about what's your cadence. How often do you go back and talk to your customers? This is an international OEM customer of ours, so we produce a material that goes into a product that they make as a finished good. And I'm just going to read a couple of things from the actual interview guides that we printed off last night. And this is something that we can do fairly easily in our meetings and in our day-to-day conversations. But our first meeting with them was on August 16th, 2007. And we asked them, of course, how much more money do we make you than our competition? And their answer was zero. In other words, you're a commodity to us. A couple other points they made was, look, the international markets are growing, and the demand is there. We need to grow together internationally, and you don't have the international capacity to keep up. Another comment they made was, we need a technology agreement. We need to be developing new products and product enhancements to drive growth and profitability. We're not doing this now. And so, just to kind of debunk the myth that, those are the types of comments you get from customers who you're not very close to, in that same interview, they said, the overall relationship with Owens Corning is great. The communication is there, and I have confidence in Owens Corning management. Right? So there was a lot of communication, there was a lot of confidence, but still there were some very key things that we weren't working on. And I mentioned earlier the co-collaboration between our customer and ourselves around new product development. And their comment on that, there's always more detail, but Owens Corning is 30% of our finished good product. And since I'm not working with Owens Corning on product development, I'm working with only 70%, of my product when I go to innovate. So I think, Karen, to your question and to the question in the room around how often do you go back, I think it really depends on how much progress are you making. Because when you can make significant progress, it's always a great opportunity to reset the bar and say, let's raise the bar. Where can we go? Because as a result of that interview, they said, if we did these things together, we could go from 0% differential value proposition to 10%. Now, 10% is a huge number. Imagine your customer saying, I'm 10% more profitable with your product than I would be with the competitors. So we went back on April 22nd of 2009. So we went back fairly soon after our original meeting with them. And we had put in place a number of things. The feedback at that time then, because I guess I was thinking this was 18 months because I was thinking 2010, but this is really like 8 months later. So we go back 8 months later, and here's some of the comments that we've received. Owens Corning put capacity outside the U.S. to service our plants outside the U.S. First priority was Europe, and we were successful in that. We're continuing to work together to create pricing and programs that provide differentiation, allowing us to better manage costs as well as gain share in the market. We have a number of projects underway that we need to continue and push forward to jointly develop product differentiation for us specifically. They mentioned a couple of projects that we're working on. And they mentioned that as of that point in time, 8 months later, the differential value proposition that we were creating for our customer was 5%. So it went from 0 to 5% because of a lot of those things in just 8 months. That's a lot of quick wins. And we're well on our way to 10%. Then their one quote on partnership was, the partnership, trust, and relationship has grown significantly with Owens Corning. We moved from 0 to 5% value since our 2007 interview. I guess it was 18 months. This was 2007. I'm just getting my dates all mixed up here, but it's 18 months. We're much more comfortable with people we're working with at Owens Corning than we were 2 years ago. Mike Thaman, our CEO, is very responsive and has a genuine interest in our business. Dave, the general manager, is a solid leader and supports our business. It goes on and on. So, I mean, that's the type of progress we were willing to make and we were able to make because we got a clear direction from our customer and we were willing to make the investments in that customer. So now we take it from there to, as we develop that differential value proposition from 0 to 5%, how do we take it further long term?